Hi, Sarah.
Hi, look what I printed.
Oh no. Oh, I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. You just showed me this and I'm seeing it again. I'm like still
I
like
know,
shocked.
I made it. I printed it. It's
Wow.
a real thing.
Wow. Can you hold
I'm
it up
so,
super close?
yeah, it's the ultimate guide to being perfect. Stifle your creativity and sabotage your dreams in 30 days.
And the one star, the review, that one
The
killed
one
me.
star, disappointing.
Oh, that's
And
such
on the back, when
terrible.
things look perfect, raise the bar.
Oh, that's so bad. Wow. Okay, and it's thin, right? It's a tiny little thing.
Yeah, it's thin. It's 45, 45 pages. So
Okay.
it's really short. You can read it really easily in a cup of tea. Um, but yeah, it was funny. I was kind of reflecting on the journey of the worst book. And it was a really impromptu decision. My word of the year was creativity. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is a fun creative project. I probably don't really have the time. It's certainly not scheduled in, but it was just so intriguing and it was just so kind of disruptive to all of the other challenges about writing a book. It just really appealed to me, and I just felt like really compelled to do it. It just felt like it was going to be really fun, and I
Yeah.
was curious about what that would mean for me.
That's really cool that you say you were compelled to do it and curious.
Yeah,
Because I know, I mean, there are courses I take where I'm not really curious or compelled. I feel like I have to or something, or oh, I
yeah,
should do that, or oh yeah, that's probably really helpful for me course. Yeah, I guess so. But
yeah.
it doesn't
And
sound
like I've
fun.
had a dream to be an author for a long time, and on my vision board was like Amazon #1 bestseller,
Yeah.
and I joined into a when you can like submit a chapter to a book and it's like a collaboration.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
did that. And we became Amazon #1 bestsellers. And I didn't get a badge
Wow.
in the post. I thought I was going to get a badge. Like I thought there was going to be a thing. And it was really cool. It was like, I'm not discounting it, but I kind of did. I was like, okay, so I've got the Amazon #1 bestseller status. I've learned about PR. I'm in a book, but I didn't write the whole thing myself. So it kind
Yeah.
of doesn't count. And then I published a planner and I wrote that all myself
Yeah.
and I published it and I had it in my hand. And then I was like, but it's not a real story. It hasn't got chapters and paragraphs and things like that. And then when this one came through the post and it had chapters and stories, I almost went, oh, but it's only 45 pages.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's this habit of like, oh, well, it's still not, and I've had the book in my Trello board for years. It's like a
Yeah.
little bit written, it's all written out. I've written the book on how, like, I read a book on how to write a book. I've done different things. And like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh
it's
yeah.
still not written.
I know
And,
all too
and
well.
I was like, well, this isn't the book.
Yeah.
But the worst book was so different to anything that I've ever done in terms of how to write a book. And I wrote a book, like, but it was fun. That was what was different. I laughed so much throughout. It was so fun. And it was sort of like my creativity was like popcorn. Like I had all these kernels, but the worst book was just like it just went in a really fun
Mm.
way. I don't know. I'm always telling people about it because I just loved it. I just laughed and expressed myself, and the ideas just came out. And it wasn't like the sensible business book that I think I should write and that I
Right.
think I should, spend like hours suffering over. It
Right.
wasn't like that at all. So it's given me this whole new possibility of what writing can be and how enjoyable and simple and fun it can be. And it doesn't have to be like a slave to your creativity or kind of suffering for your art.
Right.
It can, like, actually, that's probably why I avoided it, because there was so much
Yeah.
suffering involved. Why would you want to suffer?
Yeah. I mean, just if we did a brief analysis of the words you just used, things like slave and suffering
Yeah.
versus, happiness and laughter and joy and the popcorn. So that, I mean, that's really what I see and what I enjoy so much is that, and you also mentioned, oh, the sensible business book. And it's funny, even how you say it, you're like,
Yeah.
sensible business book. And you have to like use that voice, sensible business book, right? And whereas your book, I can't even like look at it without smiling.
Yeah.
And then so the creativity when we're laughing and we think it's fun and funny and we don't care because this isn't real anyway, then the ideas come
Yeah.
and the different ideas.
That's it. It's the pressure was off, and
Yeah.
it could just
Yeah.
be, and it part of that is honing your craft and just, the format that you gave us and the structure that you gave us was, taking all of that brain power out of it was just so helpful, because then you could just enjoy the creating. And then to like hear, like, I spoke to my friend earlier and she was like, I've ordered your book, and it's just it's just really fun. Like, you kind of like, I didn't really make this and think it was going to end up being a product that I could sell. I didn't really have an outcome in mind for it other than I wanted to finish the course, but to kind of feel like now I actually have a product, and now, I've been on a podcast, a guest podcast, talking about it and giving people the link, and like a few people have bought it, and it's so like, cool. Oh, this is not what I kind of set out, this intention that I was gonna, create a funnel and sell it and it be a product, but it's just evolved into that. And it's like, it's just really nice to be able to share my words. And
speaking of like being on a podcast and talking about it, I mean, what if you're on the podcast and you're going to talk about your sensible business book, and you would say, and you're on the podcast, hi, I'm Sarah, here's my sensible business book, it's fantastic, I promise, whereas this, I mean, you almost can't say it without laughing or smiling. And I can just imagine the interviewer on the podcast saying, wait a minute, it's what? What is this book? It's like, it's not the sensible business book. Tell me more. I mean, it's so much more intriguing and lively and fun. It like breaks the ice.
Yeah. And maybe this is the, the start of a series of books, because it's written by an alter ego. Right. So like, there's loads of them. There's loads of them. Right. So like, there's like this whole like, oh, maybe this is book one and da-da-da. So with the other book, it is actually a membership, and I have made courses with the content. So I kind of realized through that reflection that it is out into the world. I've written like 50 plus guidebooks or whatever. Like it is out in the world. It's just in a different format than I was expecting to begin with. But it's kind of being able to let that go and say, okay, I can let that go now, because I am a published author. I'm actually a published author.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, when I ordered it, I made it a gift, and then I wrote it a little gift note to Sarah. Congratulations on being a published author. You are fabulous, darling. Love, Sarah. And I just, awesome. Wanted to celebrate it and just, acknowledge that, I am actually a published author now.
Yeah. And you even have a print book in your hands.
Yeah.
Especially
other people have bought. They've actually paid money to own it as well. But I just want to say thank you, Bradley, because I often think about that experience. I'm often telling people about that experience of how light it can be, how enjoyable it can be to express yourself when you take the pressure off, and to write the worst book is kind of like, oh, okay, I can have fun with that now. And what if you were able to just have fun in lots of different areas. What new concepts, what new ways of thinking, what new creative outlets could you find from that process, if you could just take the pressure off and, you know, it not have to be the best, or the Amazon number one, or the, you know, I must sell like you know, a gazillion copies, and then it's like, then it's okay.
Yeah, or the exact example of the content of your book about perfection, and how that's, first of all, it's impossible, right? The perfect book or the perfect, and that's really cool what you're saying about how you could then apply this to something else. You know, your worst, I mean, your public speaking, the worst public speech ever, and say, you know what, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to totally bomb it. It's going to be terrible. I'm going to go up there. They're going to boo me off the stage. It's going to be, and if you can get over that and say like, wow, this is going to be fun. I'm really going to make it bad. And then you get over yourself also, and make it fun and acceptable. And because now what I always enjoy is that your second book is so much easier, and you can choose to make that, you know, your second worst, or you can make it a good, or maybe it's the best, but you've been there, done that. It's not that first time, and has to be, well, and it's even so funny that it's about perfection.
And it's just letting go of the outcome, you know, like I think when I did the first one, it was like, it has to be a Amazon number one bestseller, otherwise it's not a success. But the success is actually in the fact that I was vulnerable enough to share my story, and I was courageous enough to share my story, and, you know, put myself out there. That was the win, not the numbers. But I think sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on these outcomes. But if, you know, the outcome for me, okay, I've got a book in my hand, but actually the outcome was, I can't think about that experience without laughing. You know what I mean? That is the joy of it. That is just as good an outcome as whatever I did with it afterwards. You know, it's like enjoying the process. Enjoying the process, enjoying, you know, what could be if you just created space for your creativity. Like, what would you make?
So you said how you've always had a dream to be an author, because a lot of people will ask me like, oh, well, I don't really need to become an author. This isn't for me. And it's hard to tell people about to enter a program or a challenge with the word book in it, that I actually honestly don't need you or even want you to be an author. That's because I think it's like I use the word trick, but that sounds tricky and underhanded. So it's like a tool that to help you break through. I mean, it really could be your worst public speech ever, your worst painting ever, your worst song that you sing ever, whatever. For me, it happened to be books. And because I myself struggled for like 9 years, not working on the perfect book, the best book ever. Well, I'm sure thinking about it a lot, but I didn't take action because I was so scared of all of our favorite limiting beliefs. And then, I mean, and that's another reason that I like doing this, is because I wish I had this years ago and get me over that first book hump to then like, oh, that's it? Really? This is what I've been so scared of?
It demystifies it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But so for those people who are like, well, I've no ambition to be an author or write, you know, do that as a profession. For me, you know, like I love to paint. I have no intention of really selling any of my art. I've just started playing the piano for fun. Not because I want to become a musician or sell albums or, you know, be an international superstar diva. I'm just doing it for fun. So like, you're allowed to do things for fun, to follow your creative curiosities. You know, do you read a book because you know, for like serious reasons, or do you just read it to enjoy it? Like, you're allowed to enjoy things. I listened to a really good podcast recently about having a fun intervention. And I think that really sits well with the worst book thing. Like, you know, we our lives are so scheduled, and we have goals, and we, you know, we work towards them, and, you know, we perform in certain ways in our professional lives, and you know, we're trying to be good people in the world, we're trying to be good family members, and, you know, that's all great, but sometimes there's this other stuff where there's fun and there's play and there's passion and creativity, and that doesn't necessarily have to have a set outcome, or, you know, like a real defined purpose. It can just be for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And that is just as valuable, if not more so.
Yeah.
And who knows what you'll discover, and that's the fun of it.
So I'm glad you said that. Who knows what you'll discover? I think that's because it's hard to, I can't guarantee, right? I can't say, come join us and I guarantee you will discover something new. That's impossible. But I can almost guarantee, hey, let's do a really boring study of tax law in the 1800s in Greater London. Like, oh, I mean, I can almost guarantee we're not going to get through it. You're probably not going to have new ideas. You're going to shut down and just try to finish it. Whereas here, it's almost the unknown outcome. Like you said, don't expect the outcome. You know, #1 bestseller, sell a gazillion copies. No, the outcome is book finished. That's it.
Yeah, this was never a concept that I'd even thought about before this book. There was nothing in this book that there was a seed of it or an idea before, or I had absolutely no idea I didn't even really know much about what I was getting into, or other than it sounded fun, and it sounded like, well, it's going to be a week or 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it was. What's the worst that could happen, really? It's going to be, I'm interested about this. It spoke to that rebel in me that is a good girl and wants to do the right thing and, you know, get the badges for her guide's sash. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was trained. You do the thing, you get the badge. Like, so it kind of spoke to that, like, I have no idea. I wonder what it could be. You know, that just like, I wonder and I wonder and I wonder, and I just see where it takes me. So yeah, like, even if you're not necessarily going to be an author or publish the book, it's an interesting experiment into creativity. I just want to show you this. This is what this is one of my mind maps from the book. And this just sort of shows you how much fun I had, even just in the creative process of like imagining this alter ego of mine. And these are, oh, hang on. These are the little ideas cages that you lock your passions away in. That was one of her tips. Don't express your ideas, lock them in little cages. But like, you can just see like how much fun that was. You know, just like coming up with the ideas, and, you know, it was just, and now whenever, you know, I really think that helped me to get out of my own way in many other ways as well, like in many other areas of my life, my creativity, that I could just sit there and go, I don't know where it's going to end, but I'll just start, I'll just see. And there's a freedom in that. There is such freedom, and I don't know if I would have found that any other way, really. I feel like it was a perfect challenge for me in the way that you laid it out, in the way, you know, we got so many skills in terms of creating a book, but like you say, that's just the vehicle, that's just the that's just the thing that it was about, but it could be applied in so many other ways. And I definitely take that as a lesson for me in my, you know, my expression, my creativity.
You know, you mentioned alter ego, and that's, I think, one of the sort of most fun, probably, and maybe easiest paths. Because if you're thinking like Sarah, the business executive who's going to write this serious thing, then it's like, oh, it just feels heavy already, right? But this, like, okay, what if you let your alter ego come in and do this? It's almost like opposite, like alter. I guess alter is kind of opposite, maybe, I don't know, but opposite. So I've got a guy I'm working with, and his book is called Simplify. And we were briefly talking about what we're talking about now. And so, simplify, yes, your productivity and your efficiency and your effectiveness and your work channels and loads. And I'm like, oh, And then he said, but what if I wrote a book called Complicate? Like, and you, how to complicate your life, how to add, stress and complexity and layers to the, and just hearing him talk about it, he was getting so animated, and he was having fun thinking about, oh, I got a chapter idea. Whereas his like real book, it's like you said, it's his alter ego, and he puts on, okay, now I put on my serious business person hat, and okay, let's talk about efficiency and ROI. And then he comes over here, he's like, complicate, like, yeah, oh, we could do this, we could do that.
Yeah, but and it's so relatable.
Yeah, yeah. I even think from this guy that if his book, I feel bad, he'll probably watch this. Okay, I'll be nice. But he has a book called Simplify, and that's the official business book. And it's awesome, and efficiency and effective and all that. And you simplify your life and business world. Something great. But if he had a freebie or a giveaway or a short book called Complicate, and the guy does some stand-up comedy too, so I bet it's gonna be really funny, I would totally buy that book. I would totally buy a book called Complicate, and I'd buy it before the Simplify.
Yeah, because it's the things that we know we should do. Like, we should do that. Right. We should definitely read that book and follow the process. And that would probably make our lives much simpler. But also, you could say the similar content and give the same advice.
Yeah.
Because that's with this book, I've put coaching questions in. So it does help the reader connect with their own inner perfectionist, or in the case of Complicate, like how they are complicating currently, how that's working for them, and what they might do differently.
Yeah
It's the same outcome, but it's just perhaps a different take on it. So yeah,
that's it.
It's fun. It's fun to flip it.
Yeah, you're right, same outcome but different path to get there.
Yeah.
Huh, that's fun. Wow. Okay, can you share one more time? One last time?
The worst book I could have ever written.
It's upside down. I even remember you making that P of perfect, you're hand, you couldn't do it. I can't make it crooked.
I know, it was hard because this isn't actually in the center of the 30. My OCD is triggered massively. And the upside down thing, this is kind of like the Hanged Man. There's a bit of a tarot reference in there. But yeah, it was definitely challenging in all the right ways.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this, and I hope people watching are inspired and have an idea of what we're doing. And so to wrap up, one reason we're talking is that we're doing it again, and I really think I just have to do it on a regular basis, a couple times a year, because we had such it was. I have a lot of fun doing it too, and I do a book as well. I did a book during our thing, the one called The One Word Book That Will Probably Change Your Life, that I wrote in one morning, and that's okay, and just the idea of that being okay.
Yeah, and it's good, you meet other people. There's the community side of it. You get to hear other people's ideas, and that was good as well.
Yeah, great. Okay, Sarah, thanks so much for being on, and I'm so excited about your print book. You have just gone beyond all of my dreams of how somebody might take this. It's super cool. So thanks so much for sharing.
No, thank you. Thanks for creating it.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.